I live in a small city, Evanston, Illinois. There's a big university here, but often it feels like a small town. People know each other by face, if not by name. Generations of families attend the high school. Community art events and small businesses can thrive through word of mouth. But like many places, the pandemic has pulled the tablecloth out from under the picnic. People have lost a lot, in large and small ways. Their homes, their livelihood, their loved ones. But they've also found a surprising amount of support, resiliency, and even joy in what remains. Brooke Laufer and Carrie Jackson, both Evanston residents, and both of whom lost loved ones during the pandemic by way of death and divorce, agreed to share their stories with me as a way to say goodbye to the losses they've endured and welcome what's coming next. I'm Suzanne Cloris, and this is What Remains.
The pandemic has been pressing upon us for about 7 months now. It has taken many things.
When the shutdown started in March, I was already in a delicate place.
But what remains is myself on 2 feet.
2019 brought a lot of loss for me, culminating with my mother and stepfather dying the week before Christmas, 6 days apart from each other.
My house remains. That fight I won. I may have lost my retirement fund, but my house remains.
And aside from the shock and the logistical nightmare of navigating that without any other family to help, there was the deep, hollow hurt of suddenly being an adult orphan.
My children are here. They will remain here in my house half the time.
So the first few months of 2020, I allowed myself to deeply grieve and mourn.
What remains is diet soda and cigarettes.
In early March, I was slowly starting to feel like I could start engaging in some normal activities.
Recovery meetings, the Bible.
But the universe had other plans.
And the best girlfriends I couldn't have imagined in my wildest fantasies.
So at a time when I would have turned to friends and community for normal connection and support, I really had to learn to cultivate that within myself. It's very challenging to put into words the feelings that surface when your mother dies.
A surprise in the remaining category is my mother. She remains loyal and present in the way that she can.
And she died suddenly with no warning and no opportunity for me to say goodbye. It was also the end of my role as a caregiver, which I took on in my early 20s. My mom was diagnosed with Parkinson's when I was 21, and my father was diagnosed with Alzheimer's when I was 24. And my stepfather also had Alzheimer's. So it was all-encompassing.
My health, my children's health.
I'm examining my sense of purpose and how I want to move forward with my own life.
My work remains. Clients continue to honor me with their own stories of loss and what remains for them.
In the days and the weeks after my parents died, I was overcome with a tremendous sense of gratitude.
My devotion to the Democratic Party remains. It remains strong, as does my commitment to wearing a mask.
And, as heartbreaking as everything was, my parents were living in a nursing home and in and out of the hospital on a regular basis. So if they had been around during COVID, it would have been a nightmare for all of us. I was grateful to have friends invite me over to their family's Christmas Eve dinner, just 4 days after my mom died. And I'm very independent, so being able to ask for help and readily accept it felt wonderful.
Our sense of humor remains intact. Their dad's new house has a really funny smell, and we can laugh at that. Speaking of smells, the dog remains.
I think the best way to honor a loss is to grow from it, allow the time for mourning and understand that that is not an ending process.
Also, hope, fight, community.
So I've hosted concerts in my backyard all summer as a way to support local musicians and hear live music. Be able to share that experience has been a way to turn these losses and a horrible pandemic into something meaningful.
My deepest sense of self, although clouded for a long time, has remained and had actually been here all along.
I'm grateful for all that has been, and I'm grateful for all that will be.
So, thank you.
What Remains is an Extraordinary Project production, with thanks to Brooke Laufer and Carrie Jackson for sharing their stories, to Malika Gumpangam for mixing and sound design, and to fellow Evanstonian David Weiner for musical compositions. If you have a story for What Remains, you can contact me at suzanne.cloris@gmail.com and on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Stay safe and be well.